Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and it is quite a day. I'm glad to have our friend and our contributor, Cameron Riley, here with us today. How you doing, Cam?
Doing well. It's been an eventful couple of days since I last seen you, Sybil, but here I am.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that. And I want to make note of the fact that our Damon Williams is unable to join us today, but friend to the end and one of my absolute favorite people, not just comedians, favorite people in the world, is Ali Sadiq. And Ali, it's so great to have you. How you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me. Somber.
Yeah.
It's hard to have completely full great days when so much is happening in this country. We're not over a shooting.
Hmm.
We're still dealing with the hundreds of shootings that constantly happens in this country.
Yeah.
We and I'm trying to still figure out how do our elderly and our youth continue to get targeted by people who mean to do harm. Like,
All right.
are we producing these people? Is
And
it,
and
it
and and what is it that is there that we can perhaps change the whole dynamic and rid ourselves of this evil that is so prominent. And as I said earlier, if it's a day that ends in Y, you can bet you by golly, wow, there's going to be a massive violent undertaking in this country. And before we talk about that, just to get a sense of Cameron, what you were saying, what's been going on with you, Cam? Just to give folks an update.
Yeah, people, Chicago is in full bloom with the sun coming out and the city starting to warm up. People are starting to flood the streets for better or for worse. And my job as a community affairs specialist in the North Lawndale neighborhood on the west side of Chicago has had me frequent the west side by public transit often. Yesterday, I just had my first one-on-one meeting with the CEO. Shout out to Mike Trout from the Wyman family.
Mm.
Uh, it, After the meeting was over, I was sitting waiting for my sister to come pick me up, and a gentleman approached me and said, "My brother, do you have the time?" I said, "Hello, how are you doing?" And then he said, "Fine, thanks. Can you tell me the time, please?" I noticed the brother had a phone in his hand, and I said, "Brother, you've got a phone in your hand. Does your phone not work?" And instantly, he got ticked off. He cursed me out and said, "Why the F would I ask you the time if my phone was working?" And I instantly knew. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry for assuming. Can I tell you the time, please? Do you accept my apology?" And he was like, "No, no, F that, F that." And I said, "Oh, okay." So when I'm man enough to admit my wrongs, then you don't accept my apology and you begin to curse me out. So I think this is on you now. And he proceeded to curse me out and board the bus. However, right before he paid his fare, he said, "You have a good day." So I admire the fact that he wished me well. But it's evident that we've been in our silos for so long, we lack those conflict resolution skills. And
I
my
got to
heart goes
tell you,
out to
Cameron, you have the most incredible introductions to people, incredible, just mass or just off the cuff meetings with people that I've heard in a long time, and every week it's something different.
gotta stay on my toes, Sybil.
Yeah, and like I said, I worry about you because it is Chicago. We know what's going on there, from the west side to the south side to the east side to the north side. Nobody is safe anymore. Used to be certain areas of town that you felt you there was some safety, but and you seem to run into these characters, whether you're Ali. I got to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, he tried to save an Asian man from getting his ass whipped on the train.
Yeah,
And now this week, this interaction. So, Cameron, you are a writer.
yeah.
You are a creative man, and if you don't put these to paper and do something with these, I mean, your tales from the street are just it's always something. It's always Ali. I promise you, every week with Cameron, there is a different story to be told.
I see how this one is on. This is not on the man though. This is on camera.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
definitely on him, because just me. just in my mind, I would have, whether his phone was in his hand or not, I would have just told him the time to alleviate all the rest of that. Hey, whatever the time was,
You're not
because
from Chicago, bro.
but that's the difference. That's the difference. I was reared in Chicago. My aunt and
Then
my
you should know
cousins
that
stayed in the
someone
south.
asks
Stay in the
you the
south.
time. That's a very loaded question.
I am a street person. Like
Okay,
I am
and we'll and we'll explain that to Khameron too. And as we get into this, but we really do need to talk about, and so hold on to that, Khameron and Ali, because we will talk about it. I promise. We do need to talk about the event of the stay.
Yes.
So let us now talk about what happened in the state of Texas. And as I said earlier, if it's a day that ends in Y, there is going to be a major violent act. And today it involved young children in a grammar school in Uvalde, Texas, about 85 miles outside of San Antonio. An 18-year-old man went to the school and had probably already done damage to his grandmother, according to one report, and went to a school with a loaded weapon, and he killed 14 children and one teacher in Texas. In Texas, where mass shootings are, I don't want to say common, it's not every day, but it is a state that loves their guns, Ali. It is a state in which we have representatives and leaders of this state, so-called leaders of this state, who are attached at the hip, if not the lip, to the NRA. And this governor went on camera today and told about this mass shooting. Governor Abbott, who will in days be giving an address to the NRA convention. So everything that he says about how horrible this is, and we cannot, just take these days for granted, it's really hard. It's very difficult to take him seriously and know that this isn't going to make a difference. It didn't make a difference in Connecticut when 20 children and their teachers were killed. It didn't make a difference in South Texas when a crazy boy drove from North Dallas to the south of the state and killed over 20 people in a Walmart. And just look at last week in Buffalo, it didn't make a difference. But here we are today, an 18-year-old student at a local school reportedly killed his grandmother and then went to the school, opened fire before barricading himself in a room, and he was killed by responding officers. This is in the middle of the day, as children are getting ready to get out of school for the summer. So imagine this is a good day. Ali, Khameron, it's a good day.
As a woman is serving her last day as a teacher.
Come on.
It is a thing that they don't want to address these young shooters, these men, I'm grateful that you said an 18-year-old man. I don't want to hear no more about 18-year-old boys or 17-year-old boys that have assault rifles, that commit these things like they playing Grand Theft Auto or Fortnite, whatever this mentality is. And I know it's going to be some people talking about they're been disenfranchised and all of. We have to actually get to the root of this problem, and those who are not just the root of it, those who are facilitating the problem. The people who are buying the guns, the NRA, those who are making the guns, just like you say, they're not just attached at the hip and the lip; they're attached at the pocketbook. Just they are.
They live another day, politically speaking, at the want of organizations like the National Rifle Association.
And the National Rifle Association is not doing anything to if this was my product, if I was producing a product that was being used to kill people, because people kill people, not guns, I would make it the hardest thing to get the psychological evaluation that you would have to go through in order to possess a weapon, and then you would have to continue to go through it. You would have to. I need to see you every 4 months. I need to know, and then you can't buy a gun. You can't gift a gun to a child.
Right.
You can't. It's a lot of things that need to be put in place, and then the laws for this. I don't think that the repercussions of mass shootings have been dire enough or seen to be dire enough or been made to be dire enough for people to stop doing it. Just like I think the same about molestation and rape. You're not giving a dire enough punishment to stop these things. You glorify what is he waiting on his movie? Because that's what a lot of these, it's like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna live, and then I'm gonna get a movie.
Right. The guy in Buffalo walked out without a mark on him. This man died. He was killed by police, but not a mark on the Buffalo mass murderer. Khameron, let me ask you this. LeBron James has begged for change after today's shooting. He said this simply has to change. And it just moments after this report came out, he says it has to be. And he, of course, LeBron James is a father like you, Ali. He is the head of an incredible school in Ohio, in his hometown. But he says, like, when is enough enough? And Khameron, certainly that's a question that all of us are asking, and even you on the streets of Chicago, when a 16-year-old is killed at one of the downtown monuments in the park. It's when is enough enough, Khameron?
I mean, Sybil, Ali, you both have a laser focus on the root cause of these issues and are speaking truth to power. I just offer an old adage from the Maasai people in West Africa. Whenever the tribal elders convene, the first question that they ask is, "And how are the children?" It was the gospel according to Jesus Christ who always said we need to do right by the least of these and the most vulnerable. If we can't rally and protect our children, then what good are we as a nation and as a people? Ali, how are the children?
My children are always well, but my concern is the children that my children have to interact with in this world that are not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not enough. I don't believe that there's enough adult interaction with children. I think that children are being forgotten in conversations. It's conversations that's happening in the room that children are being privy to that they should not be, because they're forgotten that they're in the room. It's so they see so much. So I said the other day that I'm so happy that my son has actually had an opportunity to be 11, because I've shielded him from so much. And I just wanted him to be, amen, just have a sense of joy in your life, because there'll be enough tragedy down the road for you to realize. But me never being 11 in thought, only in age, I'm fearful for the children that's living now that's not able to be 9 and 6 and 5 and 4, because I remember just getting under a desk because a hurricane was coming. That's the drill. Mm-hmm. Now children are under desk hoping and praying that they survive. And it's, when are we gonna beef up I don't really actually need a lot of security to be around the strip club and all the rest of these places. When is there going to beef up security and law enforcement around the school? Yeah. Like why was he able to walk up to a school? Why? Like what? Like what? In a country that throws away more food in a day than more countries produce in a year. We have the financial capacity to do these things. And what's important? What is important? Does the school have cameras that they can see people coming in and be able to lock the doors down?
Yeah.
What are the methods? Because this is not the first mass shooting. People are not taking precautions from the things that have already happened.
Right.
And massaging these young, vulnerable minds against violence. We're showing too much violence on TV. You know how many times I'm asked, do I watch Snowfall? And I say no. Oh, you don't watch Snowfall? I was Snowfall.
Okay, I lived it. Yeah,
I lived it. I don't need to watch it. But if I'm going to put something out there, I'm not trying to put out the message of violence and this is how you acquire things, or this is how you do things, or children shooting. These same children won't even get in a competitive skeet shooting contest that can get them a scholarship to go to college. You rather shoot at human beings. What message are we putting out there? What game? What media? What message? What's the message? And then then they're not going to the parents. What is the message?
So let me ask you this, and Khameron, to bring you back into this, because the message coming from City Hall in Chicago is to have an earlier curfew, to have kids out of the parks and off the streets at 10 p.m. Is that the answer? Is that the message? Is that what we want to share with them?
We don't want to turn our public spaces into bunkers. We don't want to vacate the streets. Chicago's always been founded on forever open, free, and clear, which is open and equitable access to all of this green space. Closing it off and putting us back in our homes and our echo chambers of thought and
where we've been for the last 3 years
is not the answer.
Right. And I'll leave and it's not Chicago. It's not just now, God forbid, in Central Texas. It's becoming main town USA.
This is the mandate. Somebody pushed a button and said, "Hey, we need you to be the purge. We need you to be the purge." And I can banter back and forth about what I think it is without asking the people that are facilitating this message. I would like to talk to the parents. Like, parents, how much quality time are you spending with your children massaging empathy? How much time are you spending talking about the gratefulness of life? Like, how much time is this happening? Or are you engaged in your phone as well? Are you tucked off and you like I have a Corso, and I got him from
a beautiful dog.
I got him from this guy named Courtney G, and Courtney G said, "I need you to understand this. This is not a dog that you put outside and you do not interact with him." And I always think about this. This is not a dog that you put outside and you do not interact with him.
This is not a human being that you do that with either.
You do not put people outside and do not interact with them.
Or put them in a dark room with video games, right? And
don't. It's like, do parents still walk in the room and check, "Hey, you okay? Come down and have dinner. Do I know your friends?" Like, what are the messages that you are constantly hearing? Like the brother say, what is your echo chamber that you are constantly hearing? What is posting in your head?
And Ali, and you ask about the interaction between the parents. Obviously, the interactions were horrific in this man's home if he goes and shoots his grandmother. And then goes and kills more.
And I want people to really I want people to dig into this. Your grandparent, an elderly person, to murder a person, period, is a serious mental thing. And it really only happens if you protecting yourself in the normal life, if you're protecting yourself. To kill a elderly person resonates with me just like a person when young Dolph, when that man walked in, when they shot at young Dolph, and I said to myself, how much hate you got to have in your heart to smell cookies and still shoot somebody.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about the shooting that took place in Texas, in Central Texas. It's in the town of Uvalde. It's described as 85 miles outside of San Antonio. A grammar school in which 14 children in a grammar school. We're talking like second, third, fourth grade school. And 14 of them were killed, and their teacher, and all teachers. And so we are, as opposed to some of the politicians in this state, as well as those others who are in bed with the NRA, our heartfelt prayers go to all of those involved in this, and all of those that we've experienced over the last how many years? Years?
Can I say something? So
sure.
This may be, I may get a ton of hate mail for this, but I'm trying to ask civil rights leaders, is anywhere in your job description where you are supposed to be in the community and stomping out these things, these pockets of hate with civil service to people, like giving people understanding of what civil liberties are? And is it somewhere in their job that that's supposed to happen? Khameron, you say you're political. Is it somewhere in the job that civil representatives are supposed to do that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are community engagement efforts going across nationwide, but you can't lead a horse to water and force them to drink. Likewise, you can't expect someone to change just for the sake of changing. People have to want it. And as you mentioned earlier, there's some existential force pressing buttons that are creating these glitches. And these people have cast their lot. And it's time for us to rally and do the same. We outnumber them, and we have the power of love on our side. Love always triumphs over hate, whether it be down by the barrel of a gun or otherwise.
With my thing is, are the civil servants in the community really putting a hardcore press on hate in a community, or are they just collecting dollars? And because this is a constant thing. It's like I'm hard pressed for a lot of things, because now my mind is like, what am I actually getting for my service? Like, even it being, not that I am a Democrat, but the Democratic Party, I feel like when I look at it, even in these aspects, these times, you're constantly being ran over. What are you putting in place and buckling down? And I don't want to hear, this is what I get tired of people telling me, well, we can't do. Well, what if our ancestors believed and that we can't do something? Then we would still be slaves. If there was no, we can't. Like, what if Haiti said that we have to stay under this type of oppression? What if everybody said that we had to, that this was the mandate? I think that we are coming towards this thing with a lackluster effort and being sidelined and not actually being in the fight. We watched people march for George Floyd, but I think it was an undercover, like it was an operation that was happening under that. Like, what was happening? Like, when the parade was going on, what was the laws? Like, what was actually happening that our civil rights leaders are not being forceful with the message of, we're not going to tolerate. We're not going to tolerate it. Like, we put places in communities. We can build things in communities. I watch the lighter hue build communities and safeguard themselves. And then to the point where you won't go there because it seems so well protected. Like, nah, I don't want to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
Or you decide to go there, and you and your friends go there for your $12 salad away from your neighborhood, and then you go back to a neighborhood where you are in fear all the time. I think we as a human race and as a community are still operating in fear. We're giving the people with the guns the option. In the words of Biggie, imagine me standing there while a man has a gun on me with his life in my hand deciding. I don't think that that's where I want to be, and I don't think that the answer is people are going to be people. I don't
implying that that's what I was saying?
No, I'm not implying it. I said, but a lot of people, because one, I'm not in this is not the argument between me and you or a debate between me, but for the people, the masses that's out there, people constantly, because my conversation today, this is not my first conversation about this today.
Right. Right.
This is my life every day when it comes to current events. People would say, will listen to your statement and say, well, we just have to know that people gonna be people. And like, that's not what the takeaway was. Like,
right. And for the sake of conversation, Khameron, and it's not your point of view against Ali. I think that it's merely to open the discussion and to have a discussion, to have a back and forth in terms of, a young man growing up on the streets in Chicago and a young man who is raising a family on the streets of Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And all that goes on.
I don't think there's anything wrong with asking a clarifying question, however.
No, but I do want to make the point, Khameron, that we are here for a discussion and to have a back and forth here.
Like with Chicago. Me coming up in Chicago with my cousins, my aunt worked in Nabisco for 35 years. I used to have to be out there in the summer. I'm very well connected in Chicago, like to the streets. And when Chicago was doing a lot of killing, which I still go back to Martin Luther King's thing. If Black people lose Chicago, we lose everything, which is a big thing because Chicago is attached to Mississippi, like heavy. And
straight down I-57.
Straight down. Like, this is where because Miss Clarksdale, Mississippi, everybody in my family moved somewhere. My
family's from Till Michael.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Being in a situation that I've seen, and not even an age thing. I'm 45 years old. And the same way that I used to take things on the chest at 45, at 48, I don't think like that no more. Saying that, I was giving you an example. You're 31, and I understand. And the older you get, the more it just bothers you about the answers that you're getting, because I've been seeing it. I've been seeing it so long. Sybil's been seeing it longer than me, and then Funky's been seeing it longer than that. It's like the answers. We still shaking our heads. We still protesting for rights, right. And then we compounding it with mass shootings and mass. It's like it's constant. So when I know I'm gonna be a mean old man by the time I'm 55. Like, like what's the answer, sir?
And it's gonna be a scene out of The Boys from the Hood. It's gonna be, your daddy show is me.
Your daddy show is me. Like, man, like it's mind-boggling. And then we have this me against you, but it's us.
Right. It's us.
It's just you said something that resonated with me, that we gotta protect themselves. In my mind, I said, what does that mean? Because my protect myself and create my own thing is constantly being pulled against because of people religious differences. Mm-hmm. I don't allow.
Likewise, like, when I asked how are the children? Your first response was, my children are okay. But instead, we have to think about the children as a collective.
Yeah, my first thing, I'm concerned about the children that my children have to interact with. And I need to know that Bryson is okay today. Mm-hmm. I need to know that Cynthia is okay, because you interacting with my children, other children. But I think this thing is a lack of happiness in this country too.
So you bring up a great point in talking about your children and happiness. Let's talk about your brilliant comedy special. Okay? Because I'm telling you, you are a brilliant storyteller. And Khameron, you have got to go to YouTube and find this. It is called The Domino Effect. And it's Ali Saadiq on stage giving his brilliant take on his life. And that and looking back on his life and making a clear distinction and a clear view of those moments that make the difference, and the dominoes that fall in place make the difference as to where you are today.
Yes.
Give us a taste of that, Ali, if you would.
Like a lot of times people, it's like, man, I made some mistakes in my life. Like, and you say, what mistakes? And they like, no, like with me, I go to the actual root of my mistake and how that, constantly going down this road. I was in spaces that I shouldn't have been. If I would have probably never decided to move in with my dad, the first domino wouldn't have failed. Because my mom was a very caring, loving, mean person. Like, I understood why her intensity. I understood her intensity. She's 20 years old. She has 2 children. She doesn't have time for me making mistakes, because she didn't ever believe. She said mistakes happen when I don't teach you something. Once we practice, there's no mistake after we practice. Mm-hmm. With my dad was a little more carefree. Like,
his dad was the fun parent.
Yeah, definitely fun. But his fun was corruptive. It was definitely corruptive. It was like, hey man, we just live life, baby. Like, like that's not how you raise a child. Live life, baby. Do what you want to do. Like, and just walking through the mistakes and the people that I met, and then I became a street pharmaceutical rep, which is very frowned upon. And I tell people all the time, I never had to. Most people don't ever want to admit that they didn't have to be in the streets. And I always say, because my mama had a job. My mama had a job. Like, we was well to do, but I'm just happened to be out in these streets hanging with other children that parents weren't well to do. And it takes me to this space where I understood my daughter. My daughter was in the gifted and talented program, hanging with people that wasn't in the gifted and talented program. And I've taken my daughter, before she graduated from college, all the way through high school, I took my daughter to school and picked her up every day from pre-K to the 12th grade. In 7th grade, I wondered what was going on, because I would be parked out there, and she was pretending like she didn't have a father, because the girls that she was hanging with didn't. They was in single parent homes, so she didn't want to be the only one out. And I never forget, that lady walked past my truck and I said, what's up? She said, meet me down here. I said, meet you down here? Who are you talking to? I ain't meeting you down nowhere. You better get this. And then that girl, she got in the truck and said, all right, child, my uncle finna take me home. Yo, uncle? Like, but I understood once we talked, like, what's happening here. And then from my experience that came from the domino effect, I could tell her, hey, that's not the way you want to start doing it. You don't want to start pretending in life to try to make other people feel good. If whatever you have, you have. And if they not happy for you, then these are really not the friends that you need to be around. It's not your people. Your people not happy that you got a father. Because I know one thing, when I was growing up, Larry's daddy, That was everybody got a daddy. Larry daddy. Larry daddy is rooting for everybody at the game, and he bringing snacks and everything. So, and the team mom. When you had that was Jonathan's mom. The team, my mama was always at work, so she was never the team mom. So the domino effect is this block of my life from 1983, and I go to like really 89 because I know I'm gonna do another segment to finish out this. But that's what the special is about.
And tell people how they can find it, Ali.
Oh, you can go on YouTube and type in the domino effect or just my name, Ali Saadiq, Siddiq, or you can go to alisaadiq.com. To be very candid, I want people to understand this. This was actually a network special. I didn't want it to go. Me and the network had some differences, and I decided to go to YouTube with it because I owned it. And the thing is, when you do I've done 4 network specials. When you do specials with other networks, they own the copyrights. I got tired of getting copyright infringed for posting my own self on my own pages, and they like, well, that's a copyright. Like, it's me though, but HBO owns that, Comedy Central owns this, Epic owns that, Showtime owns this. You know, those are the things that I wanted to stop and just wanted to put something out free. And it was another label of love, because a lot of people, I did an hour on Epics that just came out 2 months ago. A lot of people don't have Epics. They got rid of it after Godfather Harlem went off.
Right.
Then some people don't have Showtime. Some people don't have Netflix. And this is another bill for people that I don't want to give you another bill when I can just give it to you on YouTube, and you can just share it and look at it as many times as you want to. This is a part of spreading joy and spreading some sort of message and some sort of medicine in your talent, and not just feeding off the people just for money and throwing the money back in their face. You ain't nothing if you ain't got a Maserati. That's not how you breed kindness in people by making them feel bad about not having.
Right.
You know,
and certainly a lesson that your daughter learned as well as a result of having a dad and having one. We are going to. I just want to remind people that this is it's Sybil with Khameron Riley, who is with us every week, as well as our special guest is the wonderful Ali Saadiq, and talking about his comedy special that is on YouTube, and it's called The Domino Effect. So please take a look at that. We've been talking about a lot today. Yes. We've been talking about the streets in Texas, the streets in Chicago, and it is time for us to take a look at our newsletter. This is the What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our absolutely free newsletter. If you give us your name and your email address, subscribe to it, free. No money down, but a lot of great information. And we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. Khameron, you wrote an interesting piece, and I do want you to talk about this woman. Because okay, let's just talk about it. It's Kathy Barnett. Kathy Barnett. Who is Kathy Barnett? This is the Black woman that was in the race for the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. She didn't make it very far. Now they're waiting for the top 2 vote getters to figure out, counting the votes. Are we going to have those unsigned ballots, undated, and all of this? But Kathy Barnett is a bit of a unicorn in that she is a very conservative Black woman in the Republican Party, and so conservative. She's more conservative than most Republicans. But Khameron, you give us a follow-up on what has happened to her over the week since she lost the election.
Yeah, so Kathy Barnett was the first loser in the upcoming highly contested Pennsylvania Senate race. Ever since then, she has been conceding to the voice of the Pennsylvania people, saying that she supports whoever it is that they choose, and has stayed away from the hot debates of which ballots count and which don't, and all that. And so she has been very gracious. On CNN, she was asked, what does she attribute to her loss? And her First response was partisan media bias. He believes that the people were misled about her political leanings. She thought that she was under ruthless attack by both the right and the left, and she thought that is what attributed to her downfall. I believe that there's some hypocrisy in there because she benefited from a massive surge in the polls because of partisan media bias, wherever it is that means. That is not to discredit her, because we all know that Black people are constantly under siege by the media. Exhibit A, Barack Hussein Obama, who in some camps his ethnicity is still being brought into question. Mm-hmm. Judge Ketanji Brown was under constant attack throughout her confirmation hearing. So it's definitely true. But I think that Miss Barnett is sort of blaming the rules of the game here. You know, when you run for office, unfortunately, whether or not you picked your nose is subject to analysis as to how qualified you are as a candidate. And unfortunately, we're at the place now where, you know, political expertise doesn't matter anymore. It is a popularity contest.
But she also used it, and tell me if you agree with this. I think she also used some of these things in order to obfuscate, to take people away from what her qualifications were, if there were any, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's people, your CNNs, your politicos, you know, tried to highlight some of the biases in her tweets, like ancient tweets. You know, when she came at worshippers of Islam and gays, you know,
what she say about us?
Yeah.
What she say about us?
She has some real Islamophobia going on in that person of hers.
Yeah, this is a U.S. Army veteran. She considers herself a stalwart follower of Christ. This is the same woman who said that she was there on January 6th to pray.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Walking alongside some of the Proud Boys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Favorite boxer, Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
you got a problem with Muslims. What's your favorite boxer? Muhammad Ali, of course.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You can laugh, Khameron. You can laugh.
I don't laugh much.
I can tell. Go ahead, though, brother. What else did she do? Because she was a case. She was serious.
So, Khameron, did you talk about in the article? And I'm trying to remember, but I know that when I wrote about her, I did mention the fact because she is very anti-abortion, and it's because of her beginnings. She is the result of a rape of her 11-year-old mother.
I didn't know that, Sybil.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where, and when she came out with that story, telling her story, that's when her popularity skyrocketed in the state of Pennsylvania. At that moment is when her numbers, she might have been in the double digits, but they skyrocketed to the point where she was right there.
Yeah.
She was right. I think at one point she had even ditched McCormick. She had left him behind, and she was right there with Dr. Oz.
Yeah, and you know, I quote Issa Rae saying, like, I'm rooting for everybody Black.
Right.
Point blank, period. But when it's time for you to take that L and reflect upon what brought you to this point, you know, you can't have your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
And that's the case. I think she was just kind of grasping for things and hoping to catch on with somebody. But speaking of voting for everybody Black, I do want to mention the story that I had in the newsletter, and that's about the elections going on, the primary elections. Of course, Texas has some runoffs, but Georgia, which is big, Alabama, which is big, and Arkansas, the former communications director, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It looks like she's going to be the Republican nominee to be governor, and she's going to go back to the house she grew up in when her father, Mike Huckabee, was governor. But check this out. 3 black people, 3 black women in Alabama are in the Democratic race. It's a total of 6 candidates. 3 black women are in this for the Democratic nomination for governor of Alabama.
Let's go.
3 black men are the only candidates for the U.S. Senate nomination for Democrats. It's just 3 black men who are running for the nomination. And so we'll get the results on this. But speaking, as you mentioned, going Issa Rae, and I'm down for everybody black. These are the races that we should really be paying some attention to, and if we want some change, if we want people who look like us and understand some of the issues that we are and the things that we're going through on our streets and in our homes, we've got to support these people who step out there. Yes, sir. Except for
I would ask that Alabama, when it's black people in the race, please have grace and dignity. Do not be like Mississippi and be contingent, and then after the race is over, y'all at a civil war with one another. Politics, you don't have to play politics dirty, because people get into the game and feel like I got to do it like they do it. You get into the game for change, and so when you change games, if I'm behind, and I know that it's a way that we can work together in the long run, let me get my people behind you as well. Because it's a lot of strategy to how it's done, and I think that we can't be at war with each other because black people in politics are white. This is how I see black people in politics versus Caucasians. Like with football, the fans of any team are psychotic.
They're fanatics.
They got Chicago hates the Eagles. Eagles hate Dallas, but the owners go on vacation together. Like all while the Eagles fan is trying to throw a Giants fan out the stands the wrong way, the owners are sitting next to each other with their wives saying, "So, are we doing a Cozumel this year or Paris?" So I want black people to be able to be civil in these exchanges, and I just it always takes me back to Alderman Davis on good times. I'm like. And when he was running against that young man, the young man just didn't get it. He's like, "Hey, man, you got to be with the people, and you got to shake hands." And when it's over, I ain't mad at you, young man. Next time, it ain't your year this time. But I need you. I don't want anybody to relinquish anything, but I want you to be civil and put your power behind one another once it's over, to build and really build and build and change.
Yeah. And like build and change.
I wish I could say I'm rooting for everybody that's black, but somebody told on Nat Turner. Somebody told on Nat Turner. Somebody said something.
But I'll leave beyond Nat Turner, and there were other Nat Turners. But just the fact that in Alabama,
incredible.
Alabama, the state of Alabama could be represented, in these big elections by a black woman and a black man for the United States Senate, and a woman for the governor of the state. Now, she's probably not going to win. This black woman is not going to win. But like you say, because the one woman who is Flowers, she has 29% in the polls. She was running at 29%. The other 2 women in single digits. So let's coalesce at this point. Let's get it together. And these 3 black men, once one of you rises to the top in terms of this election, of this primary, let's coalesce. Let's put our interests and our disagreements aside, and for the greater good.
Yeah, we don't need a Highlander reboot. Like that's Old and tired.
And Michael Stallworth on Facebook. I was going to talk about Herschel Walker and Tim Scott as they represent their, Herschel Walker. I'm not sure what he's representing, but he just has won. According to the latest report, he has won the nomination and his endorsement by Donald Trump for the U.S. Senate. So that's going to be an interesting race with Raphael Warnock, Reverend Raphael Warnock, and Herschel Walker going up against
Herschel Walker
in Georgia.
Won a nomination with not one debate.
Come on.
They don't know.
They don't care.
They don't even know what he said because he won a national.
No.
He won a national championship. Did he even win a national championship with Georgia? But it's like he's a hero. He's a football hero.
And he's also a wife abuser. He is a man with mental health issues, and he is a man who just 6 months ago lived in the state of Texas.
He played football. It's a lot wrong with his cranium. Yeah. It's a lot wrong with the cranium.
Yes,
but it's
those are your people. I mean, we need to ask whose man's really is this? Because
we know whose man he is. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
He's the Dallas Cowboy.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's our newsletter. Those are some of the stories. We have others, and please take a look at our newsletter. And as I mentioned, it's absolutely free, so please subscribe, and we would love to have you and be a part of our discussions every day here on It's Sybil. All right, it's now time for, we're going to close out with a look at entertainment. And this is a story that this is a man and his story that continues to fascinate me. And every opportunity I get, I go and seek him out when there are stories available. Nipsey Hussle's family is making sure that his documentary, which is dropping, is also people know about, not only about the documentary, but about what it has to do with his cannabis empire. He has started to build and making sure that it comes to fruition. He started building it before his murder. So they dropped a new documentary called The Marathon Cultivation, which chronicles the grind Nipsey and his brother Samuel endured in creating their Marathon OG marijuana strain. Are you familiar with this, Ali?
Not at all.
As a former street?
No, I'm not familiar with his. There's so many strands of marijuana out there.
I have no idea.
It's like, who else wants marijuana? I'm more concerned on is anybody gonna put together a program that kids can learn multiple languages and be able to speak multiple languages, because it's proven that children who speak multiple languages can change their narrative. They don't have to be boxed into anything. Mm-hmm. Our educational level in this country, a lot people talk about so many different things, and maybe I can teach these kids to grow weed or something. I don't know. Maybe that's the part.
As a business enterprise, yeah,
because it's going that way. They want everybody toe up from the floor up. While they doing whatever they do. Enterprise is, I applaud the effort if that's what they're doing, and I don't know. I'm so perplexed with certain things in this country. We've built a lot in this country. I just think that we starting to not be innovative enough now. We just looking at, Snoop got a weed strand, let me get a weed strand. Who else want a weed strand? Anybody want a weed strand? But what about building infrastructure? Like, we gonna wait to start coding when they start coding,
right?
Like we wait. Our last great invention was hip hop.
Well, speaking of which, Jermaine Dupri is out there, and he's talking about Lupe Fiasco as a part of MIT's MLK Visiting Professors and Scholars Program, and they are hoping to use hip hop to teach students and
to read.
Yeah, to read and to think outside of the box.
They have a program like that here. Some young guys have this rap to read program in Houston. They hold a seniors weekend here, where they do they take a bunch of seniors. They play all these games and do a lot of enterprising things and give away scholarships. My nonprofit organization, Head Smart, our goal is to start a teen summit to start these talks again to start these talks again with children to get a understanding like what's going on, because I want to know. I don't want to come there and talk about anything. I want to know what is going on with y'all. I want to be talked to and not just talking to them, and try to interchange these things that's going on in these schools, and it's going on at home. You know, it give people another outlet of how to handle these things. So I don't know if the OG Kush is going to help, but I know giving people cognitive intervention and giving other ways to think outside the box and telling people, hey, I'm not telling you not to get angry. I'm never going to tell you not to get angry, because anger has catapulted me to the position that I'm in now. It's displaced and misplaced anger. Take that anger energy and utilize it for something good. Because I'm telling you, you can move a car when you're mad. You can't try to push a car when you're happy.
Okay. You know? Ali, before we wrap up and end with our daily inspiration, how can people stay in touch with you?
Oh, just go to any of my social media. If you want to email me, that's morealilive@gmail. But any of my social media, Facebook, it's just Ali Saadiq all the way around. But I do want to say this before I even get out of here. To two writers, y'all are the most important people in the world to me. That's because you are a writer, and writers write the facts. When you are a competent writer and you write things that give people this lane to think. So I always want to applaud writers, because you are the ultimate creator, you know, and what you say means a ton to people. Like I relish and I applaud and I respect writers to no end. I hate that it's not a lot of black newspaper. Like I when I go back in history, we had a lot of newspapers for people who they said couldn't read, and we wasn't drawing pictures. The other hue needed pictures to push their messages. We were reading. We would read the words. So I applaud both of you, and in admiration.
We applaud you for your brilliance as well. Don't forget to go to YouTube and find The Domino Effect and check it out and recommend it to everyone. You're a brilliant storyteller. I've said this over and over again, and I hope you will continue the great work, Ali. And I really appreciate your time with us today. I don't take that for granted, nor your friendship. So thank you so much. Michelle Lynn Summerall says a powerful hour. Yes, it was. Two great guys here. Khameron, thank you once again, Ali. And we'll close out with Yogi's Jewel. Free yourself from the judgment of others. We'll close out and give my best to everybody there at Magic 102 and Funky Larry and everybody and Owenetta. Please tell everybody I said hi. And you can listen to Ali every Monday through Friday afternoon on Magic 102 in Houston. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.